Andy Bronsnick from Mandelbaum. He's going to talk a little bit about what personal injury attorneys need to know about special needs trust and Medicare, Medicaid. We're going to keep that brief so we can leave time for Gwen to come back up and finish us out talking about the future of Medicaid, because that's really a topic that affects everybody that's here today. This is how these potential cuts could affect all the services and the needs that are required. So Andy is a personal injury attorney from our firm, and he's going to talk a little bit about things that PI attorneys need to know.
Hi, everybody. So I'm a trial attorney, and I specialize in personal injury. So I help people whose lives have been turned upside down. And part of the reason I do what I do is when I was 9 years old, I watched a movie about John Barrett. So I don't know if you know who he is, but some of you may remember, as he had died, The Elephant Man was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, didn't win any, but very powerful movie. And I wanted to help those who needed a voice and needed somebody to fight for them. So that's what I do. And in my world, personal injury, these are people whose lives have been changed and now they face limitations. So how do they deal with that? Well, one of the ways, of course, is somebody who's incompetent, as a worker, suffers from brain injury or chromosomal disorder. I actually had, early in my career, I had somebody with trisomy 14. It's very rare. And it's still to this day choked up because I remember this kid. He was a young man, and he was a great person. Got through it all, didn't make it, but just somebody that really touched me. So in any event, you need a guardianship. You guys talked earlier about guardianship. So with a guardian, the parent usually will serve. But I had a situation for a young man whose mother didn't realize when the son turned 18, he's a guardian. So we had to start that whole process. Actually, the easiest part was the settlement of the personal injury case. The hard part was getting him a guardian, and then he needed to maintain his Medicaid eligibility. So we needed a special needs trust. So in the end, he had money available to him. He had the trust. He dealt with all of it. And with our team here, it makes life a lot easier. So right outside my office, we all work together downstairs. With a great working relationship. It's a great way to handle as a personal injury attorney instead of just being on your own, not having access to all the resources. We can work together and generate and make sure everything is covered. I'll give you another example. People come to us with wrongful death cases. And so I'll have somebody who are not married, okay? It could be a widow, but she's not married to the man who's been lost. Well, she really has no right to serve as an administrator or executor for this person she thought was her life husband, but not legally married. Makes it a little more complicated, because now the children have rights, adult children. So I'm dealing with that for somebody right now. And we have to get that person appointed as an administrator, not just ad prosequendum, which would be to fight for the case, but also as an administrator for the estate. So when the money comes in, how do you divide it? Again, falls back into the estate planning world, but we have to go to court with a petition before we can bring the case. A minor or an incompetent is also entitled to what's called a friendly hearing. So we go to court, settle the case, and we need the judge to approve it. I once had a client who went for a friendly hearing. She had $50,000 for her son, and the judge said, "You don't have an attorney, I'm not approving this." And she came to me. I got her over $250,000 for her son. We got that approved through a friendly hearing. So it's not only for that reason, but it's also to make sure the parents don't take the money. And back in the day, for friendly hearings, this type of thing would happen. I'll talk to you a minute about liens. So Medicare and Medicaid liens. One of the things we do early on, my staff and I, is we get insurance cards. So every insurance that they have, it could be health insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, workers' comp, ERISA, name whatever it is, we have to deal with it. And the point is that any settlement from a personal injury case, you may have a right, or the insurance company paying has a right to reimbursement, either under ERISA, Medicare, Medicaid. So we want to know early on, and we want to include the amount that has to be paid back to Medicare or Medicaid as part of the settlement. So I'm settling a few cases right now. For example, on Monday, going to a mediation, there's $10,000 in Medicaid and Medicare that have to be paid back. That's part of our discussion for Monday, to include that amount to be reimbursed. Special Needs Trust, which is the Medicaid side, and again, our team helps with that, make sure that they maintain their eligibility for Medicaid. For Medicare, it's even more complicated because we may need a Medicare set aside. A Medicare set aside, I use a company to help us figure out what amount needs to be set aside for future medical treatment for injuries from an accident, and that money is held, it's supposed to be used if they need future treatment. So that covers just some of the general areas in the personal injury space. In some ways, doing what I do, going to the courtroom and trying to convince 5 out of 6 jurors something, that sometimes is the easy part, the fun part for me. The rest of this is the challenge, and that's why having a team and people around to help with it makes a huge difference. So thank you all for your attention.
There are people that are already on Medicaid that you then have a case with, you get a settlement. And then there are injuries as a result of that settlement that Medicaid is paid for. When you're dealing with liens, do you have to pay back the lien for everything that they've received over their lifetime, or is it just related to the injury that resulted in, that prompted the lawsuit?
Does anyone here know about CPT codes? Exactly. So we get into CPT codes, diagnosis codes, and the answer to the question is no. We're only looking at the things that are related to the injury or the accident with CPT codes, diagnosis codes, and we actually challenge Medicare and Medicaid for anything that's unrelated to the accident. And we have a methodology that we use. We also ask Medicare to reduce by 1/3 the amount of the lien to account for our attorney's fees. So essentially, the person is not paying for our attorney's fees for us to get money reduced. So it's a nice approach that we take.
Thank you. All right.